Welcome. In this video, we are going to see about previous year NEET question in the year 1997 in physical chemistry under the topic of some basic concepts in chemistry. Let's discuss this. The volume strength of 1.5 normal of H2O2 solution. This is one of the toughest question asked in this topic and also in this year. This year only one question is asked. This is very tough. Okay, let's see this question how to solve. First of all, what is meant by the volume strength? Volume strength is nothing but it is a special property only for hydrogen peroxide or else as elements or substance like the hydrogen peroxide. Okay, basically it is what volume strength is a property in which 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide, not 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide releases how much volume of oxygen. This is an expression. 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide releases how much volume of oxygen, which means O2 molecule. This is a volume strength. If 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide, 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide releases 10 liter of O2, it is nothing but a 10V solution. If you see in the hydrogen peroxide bottles also, if a 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide releases 20 liters of what is called 20 liters of O2, it will represent as a 20V. This is like the hydrogen peroxide bottles are labeled in the commercial form. Okay. From this, we solve this problem. Okay. For 1.5 liters of, sorry, 1.5 normal in this is it is in the normality. So 1.5 normal H2O2. What is the volume strength for this? Okay. This is very simple. If I am taking H2O2, okay, first of all, I'm writing the equation, chemical equation. H2O2, H2O2 decomposes into H2O, then O2. To balance this equation, I put 2 here. Okay, 2 moles of hydrogen peroxide produces 1 mole of hydrogen water and 1 mole of O2. Okay. From this data, the molecular weight of hydrogen peroxide is nothing but molecular weight of oxygen is 16. There is a 2 oxygen, so 16 plus 16 is 32, and also there is a 2 hydrogen, so 34. Okay, so 34. This is a molecular weight of hydrogen peroxide. Then what about the equivalent weight of hydrogen peroxide? Equivalent weight is very simple. I'm writing only for 1 mole of H2O2. 1 mole of H2O2. Just for only 1 mole of H2O2. Okay. I am writing here as a 2 moles. So I will convert the 1 mole into 2 mole. Okay. For 1 mole of hydrogen peroxide, it is molecular weight is 34. Then what about the equivalent weight? There is a 2 hydrogen. Okay, there is a 2 hydrogen H2O2. So the valence is 2. Wherever there is a hydrogen count, that is a valency. If you take the oxalic acid, there is a CO over H, CO over H, 2 hydrogen. So if you need to divide the molecular weight by 2 to get the equivalent weight. Okay. In this case also the similar one. There is a H2O2. H2O2. Okay. So the molecular weight of hydrogen peroxide is 34. If I am dividing this 34 with 2, because there is a 2 hydrogen. Okay. So the 17 is nothing but equivalent weight. 17 is equivalent weight. This is for 1 mole of hydrogen peroxide. If I am taking 2 times of hydrogen peroxide, which means 2 moles, it is 68. 68 is nothing but molecular weight. Then 34 is the equivalent weight. 68 divided by 2 is nothing but 34. So every 17 gram is one what is called one equivalent weight. Okay, every 17 gram, which means every 34 gram. Okay, clearly note every 34 gram of H2O2 is nothing but a 1 mole. Every 17 gram of H2O2 is nothing but equivalent weight. If I am taking 68, there is a 417, right? 17 plus 17 plus 17 plus 17. Okay, if I am taking 2 moles of 2 moles 2 moles of hydrogen peroxide, I will get 4 equivalent weight and 2 molecular weight. I am repeat, if you take 1 mole of H2O2, 1 mole of H2O2, you will get 1 molecular weight, that is 34 gram. In that 34 gram, there is a 17 plus 17, so there is a 2 equivalent weight. Just like if you have 2 moles of H2O2, if you have 68 grams of molecular weight, which means 2 times of molecular weight, and there is a additional 2 times of equivalent weight. So we have 4 equivalent weights. Okay. So I'm writing here, sorry, I wrote 2 moles of H2O2. So I'm taking 2 moles something, which means 4 times of equivalent weight. Okay. I'm erasing some parts to write. Okay. This is very simple, but this is what about this is very thinking one. Okay, we need to think many things to understand this question. Okay. Okay. Then, okay, in this 2 times of H2O2, which means 2 moles of H2O2, there is a 4 equivalent weights of H2O2. It will produce 1 mole of oxygen gas at STP. Okay, the definition is nothing but in 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide, how much volume of oxygen gas is released at STP. At STP, this is a complete definition. Okay, 4 equivalents of hydrogen peroxide releases 1 mole of O2 in STP condition. At STP condition, any gases, at STP condition, any gases, it is a 1 mole, it will occupy 22.4 liters. 22.4 liters. Okay. Okay. So 4 equivalents, which means 4 equivalents occupies 22.4 liters. So 1 equivalent occupy 22.4 divided by 4, which is equal to 5.6 liters. 5.6 liters. Okay. I find 1 equivalent, which means 4 equivalent grams of hydrogen peroxide occupies 22.4 liters. 1 equivalent weight of hydrogen peroxide occupies 5.6 liters. Okay. Come to the question. 1.5 normal of H2O2. What is meant by 1.5 normal, and what is the relationship between equivalent weight and normality? N means normal. Normal means normality. Okay. Normality is nothing but number of equivalent weights. If you have one equivalent weight in 1 liter, it is nothing but 1 normal. Simple. If you have 2 equivalent weight in 1 normal, it is 2 normality. If you have 3 times of equivalent weights in 1 liter, that is a 3 normality. Okay. Then what is meant by 1.5 normal? You will have 1.5 equivalent weight. Okay. If you have 1.5 times of equivalent weight in 1 liter, that is 1 normal. Sorry, that is 1.5 normal. If you have, I'm erasing this to understand. Okay. If you have 1.5 equivalent, 1.5 times of equivalent weight in 1 liter, it is nothing but 1.5 normal. Okay. If you multiply this 1 liter with 1.5 normal, you will get also 1.5 normal, then liter is equal to 1.5 equivalent weight. Okay. Which is very simple. If you think 1.5 equivalent is equal to 1.5 normal liter, simply it is a normal 1.5 normal. Okay, you have one equivalent have 5.6 liter, one equivalent have 5.6 liter. So you need to find the 1.5 normal of H2O2. 1.5 normal of H2O2 is equal to 1.5 equivalent weight, right? From this relationship, 1.5 normal liter is equal to 1.5 equivalent weight. Okay, to make this one equivalent weight to 1.5 equivalent weight, you need to multiply by 1.5. Okay, 1.5 multiplied by 1, it will give 1.5 equivalent. Okay, then you need to multiply here also. So 1.5 multiplied by 5.6, it will give what? 8. 8. This is the answer. So 1.5 normal of H2O2 solution has volume strength of 8 volumes. Volume strength is expressed in volumes. Okay, not in any other unit. Volume strength is always expressed in volumes. Okay, so the conclusion is 4 equivalent weight of hydrogen peroxide releases 22.4 liters of oxygen. So we find the one equivalent weight, it is 5.6. So for 1.5 normal, it is nothing but you can relate the normal which is equal to the equivalent from the normality equation. So 1.5 normal is nothing but 1.5 equivalent. So you multiply the 1.5 here and here, you will get the answer 8 volume. This is one of the toughest question in the long back, okay, long back years. Okay, but if you understand, this is very easy one.